Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a first in a series on Burn City Brawl 2025, an upcoming two-day tournament here in Melbourne. But I'm not alone. I'm joined by two recurring and very special guests, Tristan and Peter. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Now, Tristan, you're known as the fan favorite co-host on Infinity the Dante, a very prestigious title. Tell us, what's your role in organizing Burn City Brawl?
I'm the number two man. I will admit that we're talking about the mission lineup tonight, and I picked the mission lineup, so Peter is absolutely free of any responsibility that my bad decisions have caused. Um, and yeah, I will be the stream guy as well, I suppose. I'll be running the BCB stream once again for the second year in a row.
Yeah, no, the stream was like really sick last year. And I'm keen for you to get that up and running again. Really fun part of it. Also, just a great idea in terms of just getting some more visibility on Infinity and just tabletop games in general.
Yeah, just memorializing the event a little bit is also really cool. So you can kind of look back years, like years from now, you can look back in BCB 25 and kind of see the hype.
Relive your worst mistake in game over and over and over.
100%.
All right, and next up, we've got Peter Henry, our guest star from, I think, still to this day, the most watched episode on the channel on Invincible Army at CanCon.
Does that make me second most important co-host of the Infinity the Darte channel?
You might have to share it with Jacob Ridley, but I guess you did come second and he came first.
That's
He came
true.
third.
That's
So
true.
no, I think you beat him out. You get that title. Jacob can be number three.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been organising BCB in varying capacities for pretty much the last 6 years, and mostly with Kevin, who's done
Mm.
the bulk of the work in terms of a lot of it. But yeah, always been in the background, just trying to make sure we have a really fun and I dare say Australia's best event, premier event.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely earned that title. Great satellite event as well. And how do you feel handing over the reins to Tristan for picking missions? Has that scared you a little bit?
Look, I've done enough mission picking over the years that I try not to sweat it too much. I think if we can make the event really fun, that's kind of the most important thing.
Mm.
The goal is for people to have 5 great games of Infinity. So I think we can all say that we're probably sick of playing acquisition and supplies as well. So at this point, I'm kind of keen to have a little bit of mission diversity. And when Tristan sent them through, I looked and said, "That'll do. That seems good to me." I think, but we'll get stuck into a bit more. I think what
Yeah.
what what really contributes to that in the following slides.
Well, I mean, let's talk a bit more generally for a second. Pete, you said, you've been running these mission lineups, organizing them, for a long, long time. You've had a lot of experience doing that. What do you think makes for a good mission lineup?
Yeah, I mean, as you've got here, there's pretty much four kind of key goals to it. We want the a kind of a 3-2 mission split. We want players to be able to identify maybe 3 missions. Sometimes people go 4-1, but very commonly they'll make one list that does 3 of the missions, and one list that suits kind of another 2. And so we kind of pick flavors of the missions that will let us allow to achieve that. I think the other one is day one's 3 games of Infinity. It's always quite intense. Some people might not have played in a while, and by the time they get to their third game, they might be a little bit tuck it out. So it's good to have a kind of straightforward mission
Mm.
at the end of day one. The big one as a TO is just matching objectives. Not having to go around and reset objectives between missions will save you a huge amount of time if you're organising a tournament. Lets you kind of set up the day or night before,
Mm.
come in, everybody can play, and you have minimal disruption, which means you can again focus on making sure the event's running smoothly, that people are having fun, and spend less time kind of having to run around and edit tables.
Mm.
And then I think the one that's probably the most important to me, I think, is different to other events. Uh, BCB falls late in the year.
Mm.
So we're often after CanCon, Border Bash, Arcfinity, various other um, 2 day events across Australia,
Hmm.
and we're very fortunate in Australia. I think that we have quite a healthy national community, and
Mm.
they often will travel to attend other events. So I think it's actually really critical that we have a different lineup to the other missions, so that when people are traveling, they've got to, they think about the event differently. It's a different experience than not just playing the same list that they've taken to other 2 day events. So that's usually a big deciding factor for us in what kind of missions we will run as well. Just trying to avoid that repetition.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, especially if if you've got a more limited ITS packet. And of course, there's missions like you said. Everyone's played a million times. Everyone's played acquisition a million times. Everyone's played supplies a million times. So it's good to have a good effort in spicing that up, making it worth it and a good time for the people flying out. Now, Tristan, you've heard Pete's mandate of heaven when it comes to making a good mission lineup. Before we spoil the lineup, how well do you think you've adhered to these tenets?
Look, I think the big bold one in yellow has been successfully achieved.
Mm.
Um, Peter, I think, disagrees that we can get a 3-2 split. I don't think we can get a 3-2 split. I
Ooh.
think it. I think specifically this lineup. It's the challenge is there's probably always going to be at least one mission that you're not 100% comfortable doing, and I
Mm.
think that's a good thing. BCB being at the end of the ITS season,
Mm-hmm.
generally I find it's kind of the more competitive focused event,
Mm.
whereas CanCon's like the new season freshness. Border Bash is a lot more casual, a lot more fun. Arcfinity is all about painting.
Mm.
BCB is about the not hyper competitiveness, but it's the more on the competitive side, the more challenging lineups, the one that reward, the good resourceful players.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, different to other events, that's the big goal you're gunning for. So let's take a look at the events that have come before this year and what you had remaining to make this new lineup. So,
Not a whole lot.
yeah. You can see on the left side here all the missions run in the major Australian tournaments. And on the right here, you can see the remaining missions, and this is, being generous, including things like direct action and resilience ops missions. And if you ignore those, what, you're looking at about 7 options?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of doing the direct action or res ops in the 2 day tournament. I think we want something with a bit of a mission with a bit of heft to it. We
Mm.
have run them in the past, but I think I prefer kind of the narrative or special mission that we will put in the custom mission, I should say. So, but yeah,
Mm.
looking at this, I mean, frontline. I don't like running frontline and firefight in the same um,
Two
kind of
missions
lineup.
that feel very
Yeah,
similar.
they are very similar. But yeah, otherwise, I think there's other ones that are challenging. Frostbite obviously is particularly challenging mission. Um,
Mm.
You
but yeah,
can
not
pretty
not
much, yeah, you can
some
pretty
interesting
much,
ones.
yes. We're having the lost problem. You can pretty much delete like direct action are basically, missions with less flavor. They're white
Mm.
people missions. Resilience ops in its current form takes a century to set up the table to do it. So it's only suitable for round one.
Yeah.
And I like
Yeah,
BCB tradition is a custom mission round one, and I don't really want to break that.
Mm.
Um, Last launch is an objective room mission, and you can't just run a single objective room mission. It's too difficult.
I mean, if you
That
wanted to make
basically,
room for the
yeah.
best mission in the packet, you probably could, but that's aside the
Well,
point.
well,
yeah. There's some questions about the person who designed that mission for sure, and we didn't want to inflate their ego too much, so we definitely had to cut that.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, who even knows who made that mission anymore? Got rid of the credit and everything.
Exactly. It's uncredited.
So
Who
let's say
knows?
he could be. I've never seen Dante Harrower and the writer of Lost Launch in the same room before. So these are your options. Let's take a look at what didn't make the cut and why. Do you want to walk us through, Tristan?
Yeah, so I think the most competitive out of the ones that weren't picked is Frostbite. I think
Mm,
Frostbite is a really fun mission, but I think there are certain factions that punish it very, very unfairly in comparison to other ones, specifically because it has a big focus on good quality HI.
mm.
Um, Factions like Shazvasti that get a single HI that people might seem as super mediocre. So, you know, we really, in Australia, we are very blessed to have an amazing tournament spread in terms of factions.
Mm.
The recently published Interplanetario list, uh, the top 5 factions covered 40% of all players, and there were 16 vanilla combined army players.
That's crazy.
16! I was like, oh my god. BCB, we don't usually have more than 4 on a faction.
Mm.
And yeah, just Frostbite kind of might push people towards certain factions rather than their love for a singular faction, like someone trying to make Shazvasti work.
Yeah, I mean, I think before we started recording, there was a bit of controversy around this one from young Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly playable. I mean, as an Invincible Army player, I'm always keen for Frostbite. Uh, but no, I do agree. It is a little bit limiting in that regard. And it is something that with when we've already got quite a complicated
Mm.
lineup, that it probably does break that 3-2 rule, right? You end up with this is might be one of your twos, and then what are you going to pair with that? Normally, if I was going to run Frostbite, I'd be looking at some other quadrant control or forward positioning mission that really would suit the similar kind of list. But
Mm.
yeah, it's certainly not one that I would. If I was going to put it in, I would probably want to choose my other 4 missions around it, um, as opposed to kind of trying to squeeze it into the lineup.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we've had some good mission spreads this year in terms of really stretching that mission equity. I think Border Bash and Arc, both pretty intensive lineups, and this lineup is going to be joining it. I think if you took out one of the easier missions in this lineup, put in Frostbite, that would suddenly be like really extreme in terms of trying to get some lists working. It would be interesting, but maybe more painful than fun. I don't know. But I can understand why it wasn't put in the lineup.
No, for sure. Not something I would be fighting Tristan to. It's not something that I went, oh yeah, why haven't Frostbite in that for sure?
Even as an Invincibles player, very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, what else is in here, Tristan?
Well, we have the lovely last launch written by someone's name I don't remember. Um, as I said before, like we only really run an objective room tournament once a year.
Mm,
We've had that at Border Bash. Having a singular objective room mission in a lineup is just not feasible. It completely goes against Peter's rule of making the tournament easy to set up and easy to run, and having an objective room for one mission and then either get it taken off or all the missions are run with objective rooms is just not a good feeling.
I
yeah.
think we should have lodged a formal complaint with Gavin around Border Bash missions and made him include last launch.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing as well is, armory rooms, they skew table construction so much as
Yeah.
well. So if you've already played, one or two events that have, a lot of these armory missions in them, it's kind of like you want it to feel different, even if it's a different mission. If you're coming down and it's kind of the same table setup you played at the last tournament, that's going to wear thin as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, how about front line then, Tristan?
Front line, so I got to the last mission. Generally, the last mission needs to be a decisive mission.
Mm,
It needs to be a mission that's difficult to draw. My options from the lists were kind of capture and protect and frontline, and I decided that CNP was just a bit more difficult to draw than frontline. I think frontlines can actually be really easy to draw, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
And having a draw round 5 is just an absolute pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, I mean, capture and protect. You've either got it or you don't. Where like frontline, there's so many different levers in the scoring conditions. Two top players could definitely, you know, pull something to where someone comes from the back, takes that draw. Suddenly, first and second becomes very awkward.
I think what I like about capture and protect is you can look at it and go, oh, it seems a little bit um, simple perhaps and
Mm.
kind of straightforward, but I think it actually makes it a good challenging mission for top table because it's quite clear and straightforward what you're trying to do. It's get their beacon, defend yours, and ideally kill whoever, if they've taken your beacon, kill whatever's taken it. And so I think that simplicity allows for a lot more tactical play
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
from top players. And I think yes, you could argue that it might skew a little bit heavily in one particular way, but I think that makes an interesting mission for the final one to really keep them on their toes and have them earn the victory.
And their stripes, yeah. No, that's really cool. And I mean, as you guys both said before, direct action and res ops, just a no for so many reasons on kind of flavor, on gameplay, on even table setup. So you were pretty happy to leave those on the cutting room floor, Tristan.
100%. I didn't
Yeah,
even consider them.
I think we have run one direct action mission in the past at BCB, and
Mm.
they are usable. I wouldn't be saying that people shouldn't play them at all. I just think that yeah, in particular with what else we've run, they can be a little bit simpler, and it really depends on the audience for your event.
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure. I mean, like a slow grow direct action, that's a perfect mission.
100%.
It's what they're made for. If you do a res ops day as like a 1 day event, that's a great little thematic thing you can do. But randomly tossed in at a 2 day event, that's a bit of an awkward fit.
Yeah, and we're also because we've got we aim to have a really big event. We've got a lot of players coming from a lot of different locations. We really want to make sure that we're giving them a bit of variety and challenge in the missions that they're playing. We want them to come and be challenged.
Mm, mm. No, that's very cool. Well, without further ado, let's take a look at Tristan's finalized beautiful lineup. Tristan, walk us through our beautiful lineup for Burn City Brawl 2025.
All right. Well, as I've mentioned before and is written on the screen, it is BCB tradition to have a custom mission round 1. This time I got hustled by my fellow host Jordan to throw in Hammer of Dawn. Um, it is basically, I could describe it as an infinity version of uh, Blood Bowl or like a rugby game. The idea is you pick up a ball from the middle of the table and you have to run and do a touchdown in your opponent's DZ. Um, so that's already difficult to begin with. Round 2 is B-Pong. I put in B-Pong because I don't want to play B-Pong.
Mm.
No joke. No. So in ITS 16 Part 2, they revamped B-Pong. So I thought, it deserves maybe another look to see how it's evolved
Mm.
rather than just shitting on it for no reason without testing it.
Yeah, I mean it
Um,
has changed a lot, but that sort of PTSD of old Pong, no one wants to play it, no one wants to give it the time of day because they're just not interested at the premise of saying I'm playing Pong. But no, I honestly respect saying like, no, it's changed. Let's give it a shot. That's very cool.
I think it's quite a fun mission. I'm
it's a
probably
mission.
out.
No, I've played it with you, Dante. It was better. It was definitely better.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was a lot
Um,
better. Mm.
Round 3's Evacuation. Likewise, it has also changed from ITS 15 to 16 Part 2. So
Mm.
we throw it in and see if it's better.
Yeah.
Lots of objective stuff there. So round 4 is Firefight. Firefight is a killy mission, but has the play of 3 classifieds in it, and has the scoring chance where you can kind of play around killing LTs but not killing army points and doing classifieds, or do I take more specialists? Do I take less? There's still more thinking aside from just murder.
Yeah, and I think it slots in really nicely with the lineup as well. Hammer of Dawn, it has a component where Hammer of Dawn does want an active LT. There are some points for scoring a touchdown with your LT. And then generally, the lineup is somewhat specialist heavy. So depending on how your list split is going, you could end up being forced to take a very specialist heavy list into Firefight, which can work for or against you depending on how that game plan's looking.
I think
Exactly.
Firefight also makes a very good day two first mission because sometimes people come in a little bit fatigued or may have had a bit of a big night the night before.
Mm.
So something that they can, it's like come in, all right, all you got to do is fight. Um, Simplifies things a little bit for people, I think, in as they go into that first round of day two.
Mm. Mm.
100%. And then round 5 is capture and protect. As we said, it was the good option out of the remaining 6 for a mission that kind of pairs well with Hammer of Dawn, but also provides you a good solution to not having many draws. It's a simpler mission. It really allows you to express pure tactics,
Mm.
um, and doesn't let off the gas pedal. It's not a round 5 that's easy. Um, there is a lot of value in being a very, how can I say, a player that can withstand a lot of mental trauma in this list, in this mission lineup. Um, so if you've got that willpower, if you have the stamina to make it
Mm.
through, you're going to be a lot better off.
Yeah, I mean, I think Capture and Protect is sort of the secret sauce that really caps off this lineup and makes it a really great lineup. Um, I do agree with you, Tristan. You mentioned earlier that I think there is a lot of ways you can do a mission split for this lineup, and I think a large part of that is to do with Capture and Protect, kind of being that last little capstone. So I think it's a pretty inspired choice.
It's
One thing,
interesting.
ooh, go on.
As I say, the most contentious point I think that we debated in of all the lineup was whether capture and protect should be mission 3 or mission 5.
Oh,
Um,
right, okay.
my argument for 3 is that it's got the same objective setup as Bpong and Hammer of Dawn, so it would make it a lot easier. That's my I guess efficient TO argument for it, but Tristan won me over um, with wanting evacuation to kind of create a bit better spread of players at the end of day one.
Mm,
Um, and I think it'd be interesting to see how it plays out.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I really like that you've put the themes here.
Mm,
Um, that I kind of the lineup was it wasn't thrown together, but there wasn't more than 30 minutes of thought put into it. But it's kind of grown on me because so many factions can split this lineup so many different ways and
yeah.
have completely different ways of doing it. Like if we had acquisition and supplies and unmasking, they pretty much play very similar for any faction that you're taking them.
Mm, mm,
Um, like this, you can pair Bpong and Firefight. You can just simply go. There's the run into the DZ missions. I'll take Hammer of Dawn and Capture and Protect. Um, like if your faction doesn't necessarily have the most amazing active LT, you need to plan around that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and you just really it supports such a understanding of the mission lineup. So it's not going to come down to just like raw infinity skill. It's going to come
Mm,
down to your list building, and it's going to come down to your understanding of how these missions play. And
yeah.
most of them, I will say, at least day one, most people haven't thoroughly explored those missions. One of them obviously being a custom mission,
Mm,
but Bpong and EVAC don't see much play. And
no,
honestly, Capture and Protect doesn't see much play either.
no.
And
No,
even Firefight with the resurgence of like drop troops and certain like the specialists and all that kind of stuff has play in it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Firefight's an interesting mission that supports a lot of lists. I think it's a good third bonus or easy one to kind of split.
Hmm.
and put in either mission because it is such like you need specialists because of the number of classifieds, but also you want a really killy list, and it does support having the drop troop. I'm very entertained, Tristan, to hear you say that you only spent about half an hour putting the list because it sounds like I spent more time evaluating whether it makes a good lineup than you put into making the lineup. So
100%.
I guess maybe that you've just got good instincts.
Oh, I mean,
Well,
look, good instincts, not much meat left on the counter. Take what you will.
I did the best with what I had.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's take a deeper dive into Hammer of Dawn. Uh, we've got kind of two splits here on the gameplay considerations and also the TO considerations. And, of course, we've got BCB kicking off with a custom mission. But I think Hammer of Dawn has a very interesting relationship with aggression. What do you guys think?
100%. I think that it's got that first turn reward that you really you have to get something into your opponent's deployment zone first turn to score one of those objective points.
Hmm.
And if you don't have an aggressive or fast moving list, you might have a hard time achieving that, and that could make quite the difference between people's list choices and whether they've made a good list for this mission. Um, I think it's also potentially very killy mission because you are going to be right up in people's grill. They're going to be probably nipping that one. Um, but I think, because you're just pushing hard, it is, I think, an aggressive list is kind of valuable here. I think what I quite enjoy about this mission is what Jordan's done around the lieutenant and chain
Hmm.
of command boost, because it's such a rare kind of thing to see incentivized. Um, and I think that puts a kind of a list building challenge to people to think a little bit more about, um, you know, what's a good LT for this? What can I use? What can get across the board? Um, and I think that certainly makes it very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting from the perspective of you want to make this aggressive list, but if you just go and alpha strike your opponent turn one and don't do the mission, there's a big potential you fall behind. So it's rewarding that aggression that, Infinity kind of inherently does, but in a way that means, your opponent's not going to get locked out, of the game, probably turn one. But I think the LT thing's very interesting because it is only 1 point. So it's like, do you skew your list not only for Hammer of Dawn, but for potentially, 2 to 3 other missions, just for that 1 point? I think that's actually a very interesting consideration as well.
It's more than that 1 point though, because there is the lieutenant bonus as well. They are
Mm,
they do get the 2 dice and the +3.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I think like for anyone here who's ever thrown 5 dice at trying to pull something out of an objective with a non-special non
Non-bonus
bonus
specialist. Yeah.
specialist, you find yourself cursing yourself. And I think that I think it's a mistake sometimes it's a mistake to overlook that bonus and not realize how critical that order efficiency can be. It can make or break
Mm,
you. Um, even just failing once, um, particularly in a mission like this where it is order intensive, you have to get to the middle. You have to then go from the middle across the board.
mm,
And you're going to have to probably, because you're pushing into your opponent's deployment zone, you're probably going to have to push through their units. And if you're thinking, I've got to spend all these orders moving, I've got to spend these orders fighting in gunfights or throwing smoke or whatever it is, like clearing the path, the last thing you wanted to be doing is going, oh, damn, I'm orders shy of pulling something out or orders shy of putting the ball down in their deployment zone.
mm.
So I think that order efficiency aspect of it, of using your LT, is quite an important part. And
Yeah.
that said, I would say that I'd strongly consider the LT because not just you get the bonus from it, but often LTs are probably better than your chain of command units. I would find. I think you can probably find an aggressive LT.
Mm.
It's not always true. Don't take that as a blanket statement, but I think generally, you will find that there is punchy LT units that you can use. Um, as opposed to a chain of command. And then your chain of command is kind of your backup, and it's also your backup for when your opponent inevitably goes, oh, so that's your LT, and goes for the kill. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of spot. You know, you need to get to the midfield, make a button press, get to the DD, make another button press. It's very unlikely you've got any orders to retreat. So what
Mm.
I think how you end that guy making the touchdown is also another very interesting aspect in terms of weighing up kind of orders you're spending versus orders your opponent's going to have to spend, to deal with an issue in their deployment zone.
And I do remember when we played it, and I'm
Mm.
running ISS with Adil, who's obviously quite an aggressive LT, and you were running Hector, who quite a aggressive and powerful LT. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh, it was good.
I
All right.
do love
Mm.
how it promotes the turn one aggression, but it isn't just I'm going to try and table you so you can't do anything.
Yeah.
If you go down that route, you'll find that your opponent then might have the chance of putting a beacon down turn one. They then have the end of game choice of touching all three consoles in the center for those 3 points.
Mm.
And you could very easily put yourself in a completely losing situation by doing the default.
Yeah.
So it does require a bit more thought than that.
Yeah. Now I've really found the end of game consoles to be really decisive, at least in the games I've played. If you're both very aggressive, I guess if both of you and your opponent's strategies are sort of matching each other, you're both very aggressive or you're both very defensive, suddenly those consoles become a really big deal.
A final thing I'll mention that hasn't been mentioned is that a mission like this that demands getting into a DZ, and it has to be any part of the DZ, is really going to test people's knowledge of how to defend in N5.
Mm.
Because it's a much different thing than N4. N5 defense is a lot softer. It's a lot more, I'm going to waste your orders, not necessarily hard stop you in the midline. Um,
Yeah.
so players that understand, you know, how to deploy their flash bots. This is where a good spot for a HD unit is. I can use this forward deploy camo to waste one or two orders. They're going to really find that they're going to do well in Hammer of Dawn.
Mm. Mm. All right. So we've talked about the player considerations. How about some of these TO considerations?
I'm not sure about you guys, but I think it's fairly difficult to get a draw out of Hammer of Dawn,
Mm.
but it is pretty achievable to get the offensive and defensive bonuses. Most games I've played have been fairly close, but they haven't been incredibly high scoring. I've never had someone score, above a 7, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah. No, I've had a similar experience. Yeah.
So yeah, most games have been like 5-4 or 4-3. Um,
Mm.
and that tight scoring really, uh, it 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 builds people apart. So you want round one to have a big difference between major and minors. You don't want a bunch of draws because it makes doing round two pairings difficult.
Mm.
But having the ability for players to get offensive and defensive bonuses is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Now with
I think,
Mhm.
as I say, the other consideration I would say is that we're doing a custom mission. We want something really interesting, and for me, I think Hammer of Dawn is um, a very playable custom mission compared to some of the other ones you get. Some of them tend to be a little bit more niche.
Yeah.
Um, and this one is very playable, but still extremely interesting. I think, as I said, the lieutenant requirement, I think, just causes people to think a little bit differently
Mm.
about it, but without kind of having too much of a kind of the frostbite effect, right? Of like, okay, I need my entire army built around this. It just says maybe maybe do a little bit of changes to your list, but you can certainly make a list that works well in Hammer of Dawn that will work well in a lot of other missions.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's just the right amount of push that can still have a really interesting knock-on effect along your lists and the other missions as well. Uh, yeah, I think it's a great little mission for round one. I like it a lot. And this one's going to be in the description as well as a custom mission. It is in the Loss of Lieutenant custom mission pack, but I will put a direct link in the description as well. All right, next up, Pong. Tristan, welcoming the black sheep back into the herd. Tell us about some gameplay considerations for Pong.
Well, my next event will be CanCon next year after BCB, and I definitely don't want to play Pong at that. So here it comes. Um, it has seen some changes though. So I think the main gripe was that if you were going first, you could have a guy on the Pong, and your opponent could move it very easily off you, and it
Mm,
felt almost impossible to keep it as the first player.
mm.
I think you had like a similar experience, Dante, where going first just you felt like you'd lost already.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
so heavily second turn.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
they've changed it now so that you can't use the beacon. I think you can't use the beacon itself if you're touching it,
Yeah,
but
that's
you can use
correct.
the buttons,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a change. Um, they've
You can do
added
both.
do both. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, you can do both.
No, there's one you can't do. There's one that says you can't do if someone's touching it. I'm
Ah, sorry. Yeah,
99% certain.
you can punt it if you're touching it.
Yeah,
Um,
your opponent can't declare one of the movements if you're touching it. Has to be free from enemy touchings.
yeah.
Hands
I
off
can't
my
remember which
beacon.
one it is. Yeah. They added two classifieds. I like classifieds because they just give a little bit of extra play for people who, people focus on the ping pong, and then you've got that play when you think you can't, maybe you don't have the orders to do it. You do
Mm,
still have orders to do other things. Um, it is a mission that asks a lot when it comes to list building. It is a killy mission, but it demands specialists, and it demands good specialists because there is one of the button presses you can only declare
yeah, yeah, it
once per
had to be.
turn. So you have to be like, maybe my Whip 12 Fusilier isn't, you know, isn't the most reliable
My
thing for
top
this.
guy.
I might need to take quality specialist for that reliability.
Mm, mm.
And as I said before, if people want to talk shit about it, you need to play it at a tournament. You need to give a little to kind of have an opinion on the mission.
Yeah, I mean, I've run this a couple times, and we've played a game of it too, Tristan. And like the whole game feel of the mission is very very different. I mean, you've got some similar elements, but it really does feel like a very different mission. In a way, kind of a lot more of a defensive mission as well. I'm finding. So no, I'm actually quite enjoying it. It doesn't carry the same sort of burden of the old Pong, but still keeps some of the more interesting elements with moving objectives.
Well, you can't move the pong if it's held by an enemy trooper. So
Mm.
with the consoles, and you can only push the console once per specialist. So um, yeah, it's not as easy as it used to be, where you kind of just flicked it off them and then held it.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you brought up, this is a mission that puts a lot of pressure on list building, flicking over to the TO considerations. And this is one you really wanted to put in as well, just to also up the ante on the difficulty of the lineup.
Yeah, I think this BCB lineup might be the most challenging lineup of any Australian tournament in a while. Um,
Mm.
often people like having comforting lineups that have missions that fit well together. They have their two objective rooms, and they kind of, that's a list and all that kind of thing. Um, this lineup is meant to be difficult.
Mm.
It's meant to, if you want to do well, it's going to reward the amount of effort you put into learning the missions, evolving the strategy of the missions, and really testing your lists. Most of these missions haven't been play tested by a lot of people. So there's
Mm.
the potential that your thinking and your way of playing the mission is the correct way. There's also the potential that you're completely wrong and your opponent smashes you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, that's a really exciting space to kind of have that tournament mindset in. That's very cool.
I feel like whoever wins this BCB, is going to be incredibly satisfied with how they played.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You can't just wander into these missions, let your opponent like fuck himself on dice and then, take your check on the way out. Like this is you really got to have your eyes on the prize for this lineup.
Yep.
I think just on the note of it being killy as well, I think it's important to note that there is no retreat in this. So you can really flood the middle and not worry about kind of being put in retreat or putting your opponent in retreat, right? It can be a very killy mission where you move everything up to try and make it very difficult for your opponent to take control of the beacon, and then simultaneously, if you're tearing chunks out of your opponent, or if you get chunks torn out of you, you're still in there until the end. You don't have to worry about the retreat aspect.
Yeah, nah, for sure. Very, very cool little tweaks on Bong. All
Mm.
right, next up, Evacuation. This is another one that's had some very big changes since its last outing. Um, I always think about me and Tristan had a fantastic game of original Evacuation where we had maybe two face to face rolls the entire game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the old evac, you could pretty much just ignore your opponent because everything was kind of in your DZ. But now things have changed quite a lot. Have either of you guys had a chance to play the new evac?
I
No,
have.
I haven't.
I
Ooh,
absolutely have.
and how have you
Um,
found it?
Interesting. My first reading was that not being able to extract turn one was potentially a bad thing.
Mm,
Um, I think if you're looking at evacuation as a singular mission, I don't think it plays particularly well
mm-hmm.
because you need minimum 14 whip checks to score a 10,
Epic.
and that's just not feasible at all.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
context of a tournament, it's perfect. Um, so moving the consoles to the center is a great choice.
Mm,
Picking like it's basically Hammer of Dawn on crack if you had to grab HVTs and run them to your opponent's DZ or run them back to your DZ.
mm,
Mm.
Um, and adding two classifieds, that's really big as well. Again, if you think you don't have enough orders to extract a HVT, or if your opponent spends those extra orders to get the HVT that's worth double a normal
mm.
civilian, then you can kind of make that up with classifieds as well.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, your classifieds are probably going to be your easiest points, which is just a really funny interaction for classifieds to have.
The classifieds are so important that you might need your list to reflect that.
Yeah, wow, that's
Be-
crazy.
Yeah. I think that I would add on this that it again, coming back to the fact that it has an FO bonus, that I would be really wanting to include an FO again. As Tristan already mentioned, it's incredibly order intensive, and the last thing you want to be doing is sitting on a beacon or trying to roll with single dice.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so taking that FO bonus to push that console is going to be or activate the
Extract
activate the
frame.
extraction
Yeah.
console is going to be could be critical for you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well in that what can actually civivac something is really, really limited. So I'd encourage everyone, uh, coming to BCB, make sure you look at what can and can't actually civivac. It's there are a lot of restrictions on civivacking, and a lot of things you might be initially drawn to, like quick rems or super jumping impetuous units, or even just trying to get a fire team up there with a forward observer. Might not be the way to do it, or might not be a legal way to uh, civivac a HVT. So it also asks some really specific tools on top of that forward observer bonus.
I do
Yeah,
love the FO bonus. it's the most universally applicable bonus in the game.
Mm.
It's not used enough. Pretty much every faction has a good FO. And yeah, like you said, like if you're playing OSS into this mission, like 90% of your units are REMs. So you really have to think, right, I need specific things to do this. I might need more than one because, there's the whole mission is grabbing stuff and retreating. Um, it definitely asks list building questions, and there's slightly different questions to every other mission.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something, and I want you guys to tell me if this is controversial or not. I think this is the mission that's asking the most, like, of your list equity by a lot.
Mm.
Like, I think this is asking for such specific tools that can genuinely be a challenge for some factions. That I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people end up building their evacuation list. Oh fuck, what else can this do? And then list two.
I think that what there's one kind of common thread, and that's speed.
Yeah, yeah.
And efficiency. And I think that like that has to be a really strong consideration. And another thing that I quite enjoy about all these missions is we're not really looking at hacker bonuses. So there's no longer the kind of that double incentive of like, well, a hacker can do a lot of classified. The hacker's
Mm.
generally very good for dealing with enemy units. Whether it's creating AROs by hacking heavy infantry or REMs coming at you, or aggressively hacking them, or killer hackers killing things. There's less of an incentive to make that kind of hacking heavy thing across all of this. And the FO bonus, again, it's really, I think it causes you to think a little bit differently.
Mm.
And really, I think, as I said, that the speed and the order efficiency should be your top considerations
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
the missions we've discussed so far.
Mm. All right, so TO considerations on evacuation. Uh, we've got up here extreme score variance being really useful in round three, and you've mentioned generally this is a really good point to start breaking up, big clumps of players who will kind of sort themselves, sometimes fairly evenly through round one and two.
Yeah, so EVAC, I said before that EVAC isn't terribly good as an individual mission because it's hard to score a major.
Mm.
EVAC is probably the best round three in the ITS packet if you're running a 2-day event, um, because it's completely feasible for anyone to score like a TP result of 1 through 5 very, very reasonably.
Mm. Mm.
Um, the other missions themselves, like Hammer of Dawn, can be a like minor win. Uh, Pong can be a minor win, or you can kind of get those offensive defensive bonuses on both those missions as well.
Mm.
So if at the end of day one you have 15 TP, you're doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
Um, I think the end of day one at BCB, you're probably only going to see maybe 3 or 4 people at 15 TP. Generally, in a mission, like in at the end of a day one, there might be 10 people on 15, and one of those 10 people is going to win the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, this this lineup could potentially mean you have 3 or 4 people at 15, you have 3 or 4 at 14, you have 4 or 5 at 13, you have 4 or 5 at 12. Um, if the guy at the top of the leaderboard round three loses round four and doesn't get any tournament points,
Mm.
he still could win, but there's so much more potential for the guy who came 6 or 7 to come up and win the entire event.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. That's, yeah, very cool consideration
It's
and way
just
to
a
make
cool
that
thing to
too
talk
exciting.
about. It's just a cool thing to talk about in the pub at the end of day one
Mm.
as well.
I think the most important deciding factor will be Tristan and I deciding who was right between evacuation being correct for round three or captain protect. So there'll
I could
certainly be a survey afterwards for
I
us to
could
settle.
I could be completely wrong, and at the end of day one there might be 10 people on 15 TP, and I'd be like, well, that didn't work.
I very much doubt there'll be a lot of people on 15 TP
Yeah.
with Hammer, Dawn, and Beer Pong being the precursor missions. But we'll see how we go. I think I'm excited to give it a run. I think
Yeah.
fun mission.
No, it's very
Another
cool. Yeah.
Another point actually is that it's actually, now that I think about it, getting that extra 1 OP could be absolutely major,
Mm.
because it might come down more to objective points than tournament points at the end of the day, because the tournament points are kind of getting squashed to not being, you know, 4 people on 20 or 18 at the end of, at the end of round 4 or whatever.
Mm.
There could be a bit more of a more focus on squeezing out that extra classified or that extra thing on Bpong, and people who manage to achieve that probably could jump the leaderboards a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're potentially leapfrogging so many more people if you can just squeeze out, one little uh offensive bonus. And yeah, that makes it really exciting.
The same thing if you lose as well.
Mm.
Um, getting If you lose twice but you still get 2 defensive bonuses, you could squeeze your way up to a top 10 result very easily.
Yeah, I mean this lineup truly seems to be the lineup of the offensive draw.
Mm. I think the other thing to watch from a gameplay consideration is mines and civvies don't play nicely together. So that might not be a very good thing to try and hold the midfield.
Are you sure? I think civvies are neutral and they don't count towards templates.
Oh.
Well, yeah, maybe make sure every Infinity
I,
gamer in the audience check
I'm
your
almost
Infinity
certain they are
M5
basically
living rulebook.
holograms.
Yeah, I mean I
Yeah.
know.
Oh, maybe. This is a good one for us to clarify before the day, because I expect otherwise I'm going to have uh, every single
Yeah,
guy.
my
Like,
mind go off.
templates work against civvies?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
look, it's something to note down for the pre-round spiel, definitely.
Well,
All right. Well, we'll move on to day 2 with Firefight. What are the thoughts?
Firefight's just solid.
Yeah.
Out of all the killy missions in the ITS, I think Firefight's the best.
Mm.
It rewards killing, but being smart about it, and it rewards being clever with your list building, and it rewards just, you know, good thinking and planning out with classifieds and things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a really fun mission that interacts with a lot of the different elements uh in the lineup. It is kind of by default, maybe considered like, the boring mission of a lineup in a sense. But I think it
Hmm.
mixes so well with, you know, do you take that really quick list with all your drop troops you're using in EVAC? Are you taking that, very aggressive list from Hammer of Dawn? Are they the same list? Is that a different list? I think it really adds to, the great variety you can do in terms of a mission split. I think Firefight's a really cool choice.
I think, yeah, I mean, Firefight's a classic. It's one of those missions I think you see a bit kind of like acquisition and supplies, but
Mm,
to be honest, I quite enjoy it. As Tristan said, as one of the killing missions that does ask more of you, and does ask you to think about a little bit how you're going to work. And I personally love it because of the drop zone,
yeah.
um, or designated landing zone, I believe.
Hmm.
Um, Makes it really fun for drop troops. It also puts a little tension in the game the whole time, because you've always got to watch that back line
Hmm.
um, before you have something sneak on. I would also add, actually, that's something. I mean, talking about what generally would work well in all of these missions, we've talked about the need for speed.
Mm,
Um, we've got 2 missions with exclusion zones and one with a designated zone. I think drop troops, combat jump troops with super jump are going to be incredible
yeah.
choices. They're fast. They can get around the table really quick with that super jump now. They're going to be able to walk in on, like, come in right on the exclusion zone
Yeah.
edge. Compliments of the rule for that, and then designated landing zone. So I think really strong consideration for a lot of players to look at what combat jump troops they have, if they have them available.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. I'll finally feel safe trying to drop a Hellcat on a 21 instead of an 18.
It is
It's going to be
I
Yeah.
suppose Firefight is also asking the question of how much kill can I fit in my list, considering the other missions require so much of them.
Mm.
It's a delicate balance between how well I can do evacuation and how much gun I can put in my list.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I mean, it's. Yeah. I think a common thing you might see is people building their two lists and then kind of seeing which shape fits in the firefight hole the best. Uh. Or even you
Yeah.
could do a split where you take firefight and capture and protect, where you just go like really light on specialists, or like compress those slots down, and that's a very interesting way to take it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and on the TO side of things, often ends in major wins. How important is that for a round 4?
Not, I don't think it's, well, probably important for round 4 more than round 2 or 3,
Mm.
but not
Mm.
particularly important. It only really matters if, the top 2 tables draw. But even when they draw round 3, the guys below them that get majors bump themselves up to round the top table.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
so it's not massive if people get draws. It's just good to have a mission that more often than not definitively ends in a draw
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a win. Sorry, definitively ends in a win. Um, you want people spread out a little bit, but you don't want every single mission to end in major draws and minor wins and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think as the fourth mission you're going to be playing as well, it is a fairly straightforward mission to play, because it is just like find opponent and kill. Um, so I think that's going to be good for players. After you've already had a big day 1 and 3 missions, you're going to come in day 2 and just apply beat stick.
Yeah.
So
It is also the mission that most players are most familiar with. So there is
mm,
a level of comfort there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a big day 1. Maybe you do well. Maybe you do bad. It's okay. Good friend firefight is waiting for you tomorrow.
Exactly.
and maybe after round 4, you might not be so happy with good friend fight. You might have had to leave again. But hey, um,
You're like, I shouldn't have built for Hammer of Dawn. I should have built for Firefight.
but at that point, everybody will feel like they've got a chance going into round 4. It'll only be at
Yeah.
the end of round 4 people go, okay, I'm I've been kicked to the bottom out of this one.
Kristen just delaying when you get to cry, now on the tournament hall instead of in the privacy of your home after round 3.
Oh,
Brutal.
absolutely.
Well, I think, and the other one, I think, like when you've got a really brutal killing mission like Firefight, we don't really want it too early in your mission lineup, because particularly if you've got newer players,
Mm.
you'd think that, oh yeah, it's a good mission for new players. It's kind of straightforward, just kill. But when you've got like random pairings, you don't want a very brutal killing mission and then have a new player lined up against a veteran, because a
Yeah.
veteran will absolutely destroy them.
Yeah.
Um, and not in a fun way. Some of the other missions you might lose because you get outplayed, but at least you'll
Mm.
learn something about how to play.
Mm.
Whereas this mission might just teach you that, yeah, it sucks to be on the receiving end
it,
of that big gun.
it teaches you how little you actually know.
Yeah. So I think like having it later in it's a fun one. It's good thing, but I think it's just I don't like having new players getting their teeth kicked in too early in a tournament, because we don't want people to kind of have that be their initial experience of a big tournament.
Yeah. No, it's
That
good
is that
having
is a
that
good
safety bar.
it is a good point actually, because Hammer of Dawn is actually a mission where veterans might struggle against new players just because of what they're running in their list.
Mm,
Like it's still difficult for a veteran to get a button, run across the entire table, and plant it in the first turn,
Mm.
even though they're veterans.
Yeah. Yeah.
mm.
Definitely. Yeah. All it takes is one new player taking an unorthodox, hidden deployment unit, ruin a vet's day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. All right, and now on to the last mission in our lineup, capture and protect. What's the deep dive on this one, Tristan?
I think Peter kind of said it really well that it's a simple mission that rewards a well thought out game plan.
Mm,
And round five, you kind of are exclusively, well, let's say 90% of your thought is about top table
mm,
and making sure that that top table has a good game that isn't too skewed towards one side or the other. You want it fairly balanced. Um, and you don't want it to be too difficult, like Peter said. You want it to be something where players can kind of express themselves through their play style.
mm.
Um, Capture and Protect does that much better than Frostbite. Frostbite would have, a like invincible army versus a faction that doesn't get good HI. Um,
Yeah.
and like attack player somehow got to round five top table. They verse IA, they go, well, fuck. Their
Yeah.
entire list is heavy infantry. What am I gonna do?
Mm.
So there's not a lot of that feels bad immediately upon learning your opponent's list and your
Mm.
opponent's like the turn order and that kind of stuff. It also just fits the theme of aggressive first turn plays and just rewarding that game plan, that turn one grab and run. And yeah, as you've written here, it's kind of cements the theme of speed, aggressive LTs. Um, and
I think
overall, it's actually a classic for BCB to run Capture and Protect as
Yeah,
a round
yeah.
five.
I mean, that was my first BCB. Was Capture and Protect was played. Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a contentious mission for some people, but I think it's fun. I think in opposite of going first and picking the beacon up very well, I would actually argue for going second and trying to kill whatever is holding your beacon. It's much easier to kind of Hail Mary something onto it, or
Mm.
again pull that drop troop in, walk in from the side, and drop a shot into whatever's holding your beacon to try and put it down, so you can deny the opponent. Um,
Yeah.
I think again that's what I think where it gets really tricky, because as a player you you've got to think about how you're going to get across the board and steal the beacon, whether you're going to use smoke or just a heavy unit to just blast its way there. Do you have enough orders to get there and get back? You
Mm.
know, and then the last one is how are you going to protect your beacon, and how are you going to protect the model holding the beacon? It
Mm.
has that interesting reliance on defense um, to score. But that said, I think there's a lot of ways you can play this mission, and I think that really will make it an interesting um, decider for the final
Mm.
mission.
Mm. Yeah. No, definitely. Uh, and it's a pretty good one from the TO perspective as well. Uh, you know, like I said before, you've either got the beacon or you don't most of the time. So
Mm.
scoring can be pretty easy in that respect. And with you never want your top table to end in a draw. That's it's great for the people on the second top table, but doesn't always feel great to be on that top table. Everything's on the line, and then just like, oh, all right.
The funny thing is, I don't think it ends often in a draw. It is possible to draw, but I don't think it's
Mm.
common. But it is likely that if you're so equally matched, it could be a minor win. It could be like a 3-2 or a three to
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
In
definitely.
which case, there is still the opportunity for that second table player to come up and get a major and maybe win the whole thing. So it's kind of not guaranteed for the top players. One of us is going to win potentially,
Yeah,
but
that's
they still kind of
crazy.
have to work.
Mm,
Even round five, they have to work for those OP.
mm.
You really have to have a game plan of getting that enemy beacon turn one.
Yeah, that's super interesting, and I think yeah, I mean, Capture and Protect's very unique in not needing a specialist like period. And I
Mm.
think that opens up some really interesting list building opportunities and unorthodox options as well.
I
Well,
mean,
there is
there
one
is a
classified Dante.
classified, yeah. So
Dante.
Nah,
one,
you guys got to focus. It's not about the classified. It's about the money.
One
well,
thing we actually haven't. Oh, sorry, go on, Peter.
you've got QAZ creatures in this one as well, which makes it pretty interesting. And
You got
um,
QAZ zones, not creatures.
oh yeah, QAZ zone, sorry, yeah, and the hazmat ops.
Mm.
So I think that makes some interesting things. I mean, you're right, Dante. You could turn your classified into the Intelcom card. Um, Oh wait,
Oh,
no.
so
That
weird.
just gives you a bonus point. But yeah, even more
Yeah.
emphasis on having a specialist.
Nah, misguided, misguided.
Yeah, it's only 1 point.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't touch on, but the new missions EVAC and Bpong actually have the new tactical support options.
Oh God.
Um, I thought I'd mention it. I don't think it's a particularly well thought out mechanic. A lot of people I've talked to just ignore it because I think 2 of the 12 options just cancel each other's cards out. And I think a lot of people will just be forgetting about it. So don't at Dante because we didn't talk about tactical support options.
Yeah. Yeah.
They weren't really a consideration when I picked them. They're just kind of if you want to use them, you use them. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think you bullied me into uh using the tactical support option in B Pong for our game, and then yeah, just wild card cancel yours. We're done here.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, not fantastic. All right, so let's take a step back and look at this lineup. Um, and we've got a few kind of big themes here, in it being very difficult, in it being luck resistant, which is something that doesn't get thought of a whole lot of the time. And you've been saying this whole time as well, Tristan. Every TP is going to matter for this one.
100%. Yeah, every OP is probably going to matter for that point as well.
Yeah, yeah,
There might be situations where like playing reserved and not throwing away your army points might come into play as well, which is a strange thing to say. It usually
yeah.
doesn't.
I mean, look,
I
we could
do.
we could hope.
We can hope. I do love that you've written it's luck resistant because I really kind of agree to the
Mm.
sense that anything can be luck resistant, really, because it is a
Yeah,
dice
yeah,
game. But
Yeah,
if
I think it's
like,
hard to say luck resistance is a thing when you've got
yeah,
darts.
I think it more translates to well thought out, uh, well thought out strategies will work more often.
yeah.
There is still the whole Beepong thing of I have one shot to press this button and I cannot declare this skill again.
Oh, I mean, look, it beats the luck of I lost the LT roll. I guess I'm fucked.
Yeah, I think it's because of the intensity of the order requirement for it, and the spread.
Mm.
Um, like it it does kind of. There's always going to be options on the board for scoring, and if you're clever and think about how you can score, um, you'd be surprised at how well you can go in these missions. I think in that regard, perhaps that's the luck resistant aspect that is applicable. Is that there's always going to be a path to score.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was thinking of when I wrote it is like you can't just take the list you've been playing for the season, vaguely blunder in and do really well off of a few lucky dice rolls. It's the people who are really drilling down, taking those specific tools, paying attention to specialist bonuses. They're going to be the ones who are going to come out on top, even if they have a couple mishaps.
You need a lot of luck, and a lot of bad luck for luck to really be the deciding factor. Yeah,
Mm,
I would.
mm, yeah, for sure. So if you guys were building for this lineup, what would you be paying attention to in your two lists?
Well, I think that you've got it here, right? That the Hammer of Dawn really says, bring that strong LT, bring some chain of command. I think that that's really what I'd be looking at, as like one of the missions that I'm building a list for.
Mm,
I think that list is then you're going to say, well, am I also going to firefight and or maybe capture and protect?
mm,
Um, I think beer pong and evacuation have a lot more midfield hijinks, a bit, and so that's something I'd be looking at. Maybe that they might make a good split for your second list, putting those two together.
mm.
But I think overall, as we've mentioned previously, speed is going to be critically important. I think even with the exclusion zones, I'd be considering forward deploying units, some that might provide good bumpers against things trying to get into your deployment zone for capture
Yeah.
and protect
Mm,
and Hammer of Dawn, right? So even with a 16-inch forward deployment, if you put mad traps, a mine, or something there that's just going to cause that one extra order for them to get through, um, that might mean one, you might get lucky and actually kill something that they've run across the board,
Mm.
or you're just draining that. If they have to spend one more order dodging past a perimeter defense, um, that's one less order they've got to pick something up and run away, or they might not have enough orders to get as far away or get all the way in, and or they might spend all their orders getting all the way in and then not have more to capitalize. If they go, in Hammer of Dawn, if they've gone all in, and this kind of happened in our game, right? I went all in,
Yeah.
and then didn't really have any orders to do anything else, or a whole lot of exciting. After I pushed through, and that kind of cost me. So I think some defensive units, in mine layers, those kind of things are probably going to be good. I think strong
Yeah.
ARO, because it's such an order intensive lineup, strong ARO that's costing your opponent orders, um, like reducing their efficiency is going to be good. Good. Reducing their
Mm.
tempo for Val. So, yeah, I think speed. I think drop troops it would be a main one that I'd be looking at, no matter if I'm looking at ISS or Invincible Army.
Yeah, for
They're the two
sure.
ones that I'm looking at the moment. I think that a drop troop is going to be um, good for both the individual speed, good for it can come on anywhere. You're going to come on either side. If your opponent's taken one side and you're like, damn, I'm kind of like weak on the other side, the drop troop could be the lever that gets in capture and protect. It's going to kill that beacon carrier and get it back, or it's going to get in and grab the beacon and yoink it out of there. I think drop troops are going to be a very valuable unit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. How about you, Tristan? What are you thinking of if you're looking at this lineup?
Well, Peter kind of mentioned everything that you should be taking in a good list. I think the important thing is for a faction that might not be perfectly optimized for the lineup is to kind of try and fill your weaknesses reasonably well. Um, Consider that maybe your faction doesn't have chain of command.
Mm.
Um, Consider that your faction, if you're playing Corregidor, doesn't have a strong active LT. Consider how you're going to go about doing the mission regardless of that, or
Mm.
consider that potentially you you need to make what's the word? You need to kind of sacrifice some things and not take the list that you really want to take.
Yeah, yeah. Really kind
Yeah, I
of
think that's something
mm, put
you
that
might decide
equity.
early on.
Yeah, no, put that equity towards, taking the tools you're going to need, especially if you don't have a great tool for what you're looking for.
And that could be a sacrifice you make in terms of, say, Hammer of Dawn. Maybe you're not looking for you're going to give up on that 1 point,
Mm.
having your LT drop. But I would be very cautious that if you do go that route, that you have maybe the chain of command unit that you are going to set out to pull the box out.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
if you kind of ignored that focus of Hammer of Dawn, I think you're going to be in a hard spot in that mission.
Mm.
Um,
It's kind of it's all about push and pull. I think if you're worse at being aggressive in Hammer of Dawn, you might have to focus on being more defensive and kind of
Mm.
mm,
restrict the points your opponent can get. Try and get second turn and try and win off those like middle objective points. So there's like different ways of like if I'm playing Corregidor,
God forbid.
it's really difficult for me to get across the table with something heavy. So I might be like, well, I'm just going to put hacking zones everywhere. I'm going to try and stop Peter's stupid Mowang from running into my DZ. Um, and then I'm going to win off maybe a button press in turn 3 or
Mm.
holding the console's turn 3.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room here for very creative problem solving. And
mm.
it's like, you can look at this lineup and say, hey, this is a really aggressive lineup and gear that way. But, as Pete said, if it's an aggressive lineup, you're going to need a really good defense. You can veer the opposite direction, get that push and pull, like Tristan's saying, and find a happy middle ground where your faction can sit and make the most of what it does and doesn't have.
I think the worst thing you could do is ignore speed, and that efficiency, because I
Oh
think if
yeah.
you make if you just make killy lists, um, you're not going to score.
Mm,
I think you'll have a hard time scoring unless you fully kick your opponent's teeth in turn one and then have run of the board turn two and three.
mm.
Um, that might be your best bet in that regard, but I think that I think that it's going to be if you go too heavy on killing, you're going to have you're not going to score enough.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Any other closing thoughts on the lineup?
Ooh, I did
No?
have one.
Ooh,
Um, I've forgotten it. Um,
that's awesome.
oh my god.
You know what? I'll count to five in my head.
Oh
Uh
no, Dante.
no, it's you
All right,
you
we'll
could
come back to it.
Oh,
We'll come
sorry,
back
I
to it.
remember. I remember it now. I think you're not going to see a lot of like. I don't think this lineup supports the meta factions,
mm,
if you
Yeah,
want to put it like that, like Bakunin, Vanilla combined, maybe still Phalanx, maybe Kestrel. Kestrel's kind of good at everything, but if you're taking Vanilla combined, I think it's going to be a different Vanilla combined to what we're used to seeing.
oh for sure. Yeah.
Um, like Anathematic Chirontid, I think they're fucking garbage
Yeah.
in this lineup. If I'm honest,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
no, I
like
think you're
what
right.
it's Achilles, it might be Tusa, it might be Sheshkin. Sheshkin's all right, but it's going to be it's not going to be
not going to be
copy
vanilla.
paste. No, it's not going to be
Mm,
vanilla. It's going to be way different. Um,
gonna be extra maxing or something strange like that.
it's extra's great. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of combat jump there. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, yeah,
Super jump. Sorry, super jump.
yeah.
Cascuda. I mean, the ultimate drop troop. Are we going to call it now? Cascuda to take the win.
Oh, I mean, if Ryan
Ryan's
Kirby,
Cascuda. Yeah, Ryan's
Ryan
Cascuda might
Kirby
take the tournament.
for the win with Cascuda. I'm calling it now.
yeah, yeah, place your bets, folks. Yeah, no, I think that's very true. That's very true. A lot of space for off meta uh factions, off meta list building within meta factions.
It's almost it's not even a suggestion. It's almost demanding that you go off meta.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No,
and
I think.
I think
Mm,
that's really fun to put in a tournament, right? Is to have that 2 days of, as I said, it's not just acquisition supplies and like some killing missions. It's kind of like you're not just going to be taking the same list that you've been taking to the last 5 tournaments. You're actually going to have to build a bit around this, and I think that will really hopefully create a memorable event for everybody that they come away.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I
I think
think. Yeah, I think the top 10, top five lists. I think you're going to see some really cool creativity in there.
for sure.
All right. Well, uh, as the lovely audience may know, one of the early sign-on bonuses for BCB was you got to choose. Well, not choose. You got to vote on a short list of factions and list building restrictions that I'd have to do for BCB. So without further ado, I'm very excited to announce I will be subjecting myself to Kapu Kalki with an iguana. No
And I
applause.
think I think it's very critical to note that you put this as an option before they announced that there was going to be a new iguana. So
Yeah, yeah.
um, here's hoping that profile lands
Oh my
before
god.
BCB.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
it's one of two things that happens. Either the iguana becomes the best tag in the game, or it's still the shittest tag in the game.
I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. I have been playing with the iguana a little bit, and like when it for its first two wounds, it's perfectly fine. Like you're having a great time.
Yep.
But I really don't see how they're going to make escape system not dog shit. Like, I think that's the major hurdle is just escape system as a concept and rule set, and it even hurts because I've been quite enjoying like the little taglet, the little like bot that all the tags can shit out. You don't even
And
get that.
this one
No,
doesn't get one.
no, you don't get one at all. Um,
Dante, what do you think
uh,
about just giving it like 4 wounds and NWI and just making it transmute on 3. I don't actually think that would be broken.
I think what would be very interesting is if you made escape system optional and made the tag pilot have a very different utility to the tag itself. I think that's an interesting way to take it. Otherwise, just making it, yeah, like a very meaty, chunky tag like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the other issue is like the iguana pilot's dog shit. So maybe if they just juice him up enough. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think he's fine. He's fine.
No,
He's tag aware still.
yeah. I mean, look, every little thing I put on the lineup was sort of something of like people think this is like mid to bad, but I think I can kind of cook with this. And I actually don't think the iguana is that bad. It's just really
No,
when it's it's just like realistically it's a tag that just kind of has less wounds in a sense.
vanilla like tag.
Yeah, like it's
Well,
very much
it's much more, right?
yeah, it's structure 4, but like I mean you discover new bad things about like the escape system pilots every time. Like they come out in the same state that the iguana was when they die. So you can just have
Ah,
like a bricked like you could just have a bricked pilot just
Are
pop
you
out.
saying you could have a possessed pilot?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. No one's played enough escape system to find out, I don't think.
I mean, we're talking a lot about the iguana, but I think the real problem it has
Mm.
is that since there's only 2 tag wounds, you can't heal it because you run the
Yeah,
risk of
popping
popping
it
the
out.
escape system
hey, look,
because it doesn't have remote presence.
The engineer presses the wrong button, just smoke starts pouring out.
He's pressing auto eject. Oh
I
shit!
think I think in its defense, the existing iguana model is perhaps my favorite tag
Oh,
model in the game.
it's
It is an
beautiful.
absolutely beautiful model. So with a bit of luck, you might be able to put the best looking tag on the table, and maybe if they do its profiles real good, you'll be able to yeah
Yeah.
have the best looking tag with a really nice profile.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't honestly think the profile is too far off. I think, the lizard is kind of dullied the iguana a little bit, but having a repeater tag in a faction with access to white noise,
mm,
that's incredibly powerful. And I think the iguana is a lot better in Kapu Kalki than it is in Corregidor. I think Kapu Kalki can generally support a tag a lot better. Uh doesn't have as much, I guess, nonsense going on that Corregidor does in list building, and actually really values a BS14 HMG, AP HMG.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that should be very interesting. Anyway, we won't get too far ahead of us. Or you've got a bit of thinking
A
ahead
bit
of
of
you to
cooking
do.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to playing QK. The one thing I will say I'm scared of though is I don't think they don't hit that speed quota you necessarily
Mm.
want, but that's something I'm going to have to hit the drawing board and the practice games with, and I'll report back on that another time, I think.
another interesting thing to say is we've actually made the most anti-vehicle lineup possible
What?
Oh, that's so true.
because vehicles can't do objectives.
They can't
Uh,
mean base contact with
They
anything.
can't. They literally can't do anything. They're just
Yeah,
a flying meat stick.
they can't sit next to a B pong. They can't pick up a beacon. Like they just can't do shit.
Yeah.
They can't evac anything. Yeah. Oh,
maybe it's not a vehicle friendly lineup. That's fair.
oh God.
Mm.
Oh no. Everyone
I'm happy with
cries
that, to be
as
honest.
their vehicles stay in the cupboard where they belong.
Well, that's what this is. I'm going to call it now. BCB 2020 is the vehicle event.
Oh.
You
Let's do it.
calling a seasonal vehicle event now or something? Seasonal
Yeah,
rule for
yeah.
vehicles.
Alright, tier 17 is the vehicle season.
Oh, awesome. Somebody give this guy a job at CB. All right. I mean, there's some pretty other exciting stuff coming up with BCB as well, Tristan. As the loss of lieutenant delegate, what have you got cooking over there?
Well, Dante, we are pairing up with you to
What?
fight. Yep, I can't
What?
believe it either. Can't believe we were ordained. We were blessed enough to receive the mighty Dante. on Loss of Lieutenant. And we are running our Pimp My List BCB edition for 2025.
So keen.
This is where you guys read the lineup or watch this video. You send us what lists you guys want to or would run at BCB if you happen to live in another country. And we take those lists, we give them a little pimping. Maybe we go head to head and go on a pimp off. And we post to you our thoughts on how you should change your lists.
Yeah, I mean, no, that sounds mad. And if people are interested in getting their lists pimped, where can they submit them?
So you can go to either the Loss of Lieutenant Discord, you can send them to Dante, you can email us at lossoflieutenant@gmail.com, you can private message me, you can go on Facebook, you can hit us up wherever it's posted. It is posted in the IGL, in the unofficial Discord. If you can get a hold of anyone from Loss of Lieutenant, just send it to them or to Dante.
So what I'm hearing is basically no excuse to not get a list pimped. A million and one
Absolutely no
ways.
excuse.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Leak our IP, find our home address, and post it to us by mail. You can make it happen.
You guys have until the end of the month.
Ooh. All right.
So you got
Hot
about
deadline.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks to submit a list. Oh,
It can be
I'm gonna
one
need
list, it can
two
be
lists.
two lists.
Yeah.
We can do list requests.
Mm.
So if you have one list and you want to request for a list for the other two missions, we can definitely do that too.
Fantastic.
Make sure you send a little blurb with your lists so we know what list is for what. Maybe what pieces in the list are kind of untouchable, so we don't just change the entire list. We kind of keep the theme.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
No, that sounds absolutely lovely. Make sure to get your lists in by the end of the month, anywhere they can get in, and I look forward to that one. But otherwise, turning back to BCB, we've got a sign up link in the description. Please make sure to hop in, grab those tickets while they're hot. September 13th to 14th. Any last words to say about BCB, Pete?
look, it'll be the best event you've ever attended. I'm sure of it. It'll be an absolute amazing time. And sign up now. Sign up early. The sooner you sign up, the easier it makes the PO's job in terms of making sure that we're prepared for everybody. So
Peter and I definitely have some really cool stuff in the works to give away to everyone who attends.
that's true. There is a lot of amazing prizes and giveaways and all kinds of associated. So as always, I think if you ask anybody who's ever attended BCB, it's a great time. Whether you're a veteran or a new player, you'll have 2 days of great fun.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like coming in as a new player, playing in that mythical 2 double BCB year. Oh, it was fantastic. Great place to get involved with the community.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I will say as well, if you are attending BCB and you are looking for accommodation, if you head over to the BCB Facebook page or Discord in the Australia or the Melbourne Infinity Discord, there is a link for cheaper accommodation at the Quest Preston.
And there's another location as well. We have two options for that. Frank as well has listed and provided another location that he can help people get accommodation at. So,
yeah, very cool.
No excuses.
no, it's
All right. Well, thank you both so much for coming on, guys. It's been a great look at mission lineups in general, drilling down on this one, and some pretty exciting stuff on the horizon. And I imagine we'll be seeing you both again pretty shortly. So thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you very much, Dante.
All right, sweet. And thank you everyone at home for watching. We'll catch you very soon. Bye-bye.